Continuing from the previous chapter, upon hearing Xiao Yan's words, the Dozun of Thunder's face twitched slightly, and the anger in his eyes grew more intense. After all these years, you're still as sharp-tongued as ever. I advise you to leave early. Out of respect for the Dozun of Wind, I can overlook this. Xiao Yan responded with a mocking laugh. Your Wind Lightning Pavilion attacked my Falling Star Pavilion in front of everyone. Was that also out of respect for the Dozun of Wind? The Dozun of Thunder slowly clenched his fist, his gaze fixed firmly on Xiao Yan. With a mix of anger and amusement, he said, Fine, fine. It seems you came prepared. Let's see what you can do. Xiao Yan smiled lightly and began to walk forward, a purple-brown flame rising around him. I'm only here to reclaim the Falling Star Pavilion's camp. As the flames rose, the surrounding temperature rapidly increased. Then let's see if you have what it takes. The Dozun of Thunder responded angrily, his laughter filled with rage. As the tension between the two escalated, the onlookers on the surrounding peaks became equally excited. Hee, this Xiao Yan is quite bold, daring to challenge the Dozun of Thunder. Not only is the Dozun of Thunder himself present, but also those two elders beside him, the clan leaders of the Earthly Tiger Clan and the Silver Moon Wolf Clan. They are subordinate clans of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan. Given the close relationship between the Wind Lightning Pavilion and the Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan, do you think they will stand by and do nothing? One of the spectators remarked. 3 Dozun experts at the peak of the 2nd star level are here. What is there to fear? Xiao Yan seemed oblivious to the discussions around him. Young man, today's incident is a misunderstanding. The friends from the Falling Star Pavilion were accidentally injured because Fei Tian, the pavilion master, was too hasty. Now that pavilion master Fei Tian has also been injured by you, we can consider the matter even. I hope, out of respect for the Earthly Tiger Clan and the Silver Moon Wolf Clan, you will stop here, said an elderly man in a tiger-patterned robe who had remained silent until now. Upon hearing the elder's words, the Dozun of Thunder slightly restrained the lightning around him and said calmly, Since the leader of the Earthly Tiger Clan has stepped forward, I will naturally give him this face. Since the elder has spoken, Dozun of Thunder, please. Xiao Yan smiled lightly and waved his hand, causing the disciples of the Falling Star Pavilion behind him to immediately clear a path to the foot of the mountain. Seeing this, the Dozun of Thunder's expression darkened again, and the smile on the elder in the tiger robe's face froze. Young man, do you really want to take things this far? The smile on Xiao Yan's face slowly disappeared, and a sharp glint flashed in his dark eyes. He said, The Wind Lightning Pavilion damaged the reputation of the Falling Star Pavilion in front of so many people. Elder, do you expect me, Xiao Yan, to return to the Falling Star Pavilion with this humiliation? Facing the suddenly assertive Xiao Yan, the Dozun of Thunder and the 2 elders in beast skin robes had a slight change in their expressions, and a chill flashed in their eyes. The elder in the tiger robe said in a deep voice, No matter how outstanding you are in the human world, this is the beast region, not a place for you to run wild. Leave now, and we can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, even if the Dozun of Wind were here today, you would learn the rules of this place. Another silver-haired elder also issued a stern warning. As he finished speaking, 2 powerful auras burst forth from them, and the pressure from the 3 Dozun experts pressed down on Xiao Yan and his group. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and then, under the gaze of the onlookers, took 2 more steps forward, pointing to the foot of the mountain. I'll say it one more time. Get out of here or leave lying down. As Xiao Yan's cold voice fell, 3 powerful auras behind him erupted without reservation, almost instantly dispersing the pressure coming at them. For Dozun experts, the sudden surge of overwhelming auras elicited gasps of astonishment from the surrounding crowd, who stared wide-eyed at the 3 individuals standing behind Xiao Yan. Only now did they realize that the 3 who had been silently and modestly standing there were indeed bona fide Dozun experts. Including Xiao Yan, the Falling Star Pavilion now had 4 Dozun experts present, a lineup that the Wind Lightning Pavilion could not compare with. The Dozun of Thunder also showed a look of shock in his eyes. How is this possible? When did the Falling Star Pavilion gain so many Dozun experts? The expressions of the two elders in beast robes changed slightly, feeling an unprecedented sense of difficulty. Even the top experts of their two clans combined would struggle against such a lineup. Under the pressure of these auras, the atmosphere at the mountain peak became exceptionally heavy. The previously smug disciples of the Wind Lightning Pavilion now looked at each other in silence, not daring to make any move. This friend. The elder in the tiger robe opened his mouth to speak, but upon seeing Xiao Yan's cold face, he wisely closed his mouth and turned to look at the increasingly grim-faced Dozun of Thunder. The current situation was extremely unfavorable for the Wind Lightning Pavilion. If they retreated now, they might still save some face, but if they were forced to fight and got driven out, it would be an even greater humiliation. The Dozun of Thunder fixed his gaze on Xiao Yan, and after a moment, he finally gritted his teeth and said, "If I had known this would happen, I would have eliminated you earlier." Suppressing his inner anger, the Dozun of Thunder waved his hand and led his group down the path towards the foot of the mountain, his face dark. The disciples of the Wind Lightning Pavilion reluctantly packed up their camp, following dejectedly. As the Dozun of Thunder passed by Xiao Yan, he paused his steps and said in a cold, low voice, "Xiao Yan, don't celebrate too soon. I will reclaim today's lost face sooner or later." Seeing this, the Dozun of Thunder's face twitched, and he angrily flicked his sleeves before leaving in a huff. Watching the disciples of the Wind Lightning Pavilion retreat in defeat, the disciples of the Falling Star Pavilion erupted in cheers. They looked at Xiao Yan with eyes full of respect and awe. At a time when their dignity was trampled upon, he led them to stand tall. In this moment, the disciples of the Falling Star Pavilion truly felt that with such a young master, their future would undoubtedly be brighter and stronger. Xiao Yan said, "Set up the tents first." Upon hearing his command, everyone responded in unison and quickly dispersed to start rebuilding the camp. Xiao Yan slowly walked to the edge of the mountaintop, his eyes narrowing as he gazed toward the center of the mountain range, where the ancient ruins were located. Xiao Yan sensed a slight distortion in the space, indicating that the ancient ruins were protected by a powerful barrier set up by its master. These ancient ruins were fraught with danger, guarded by numerous powerful ancient puppets and filled with various intricate and complex mechanisms. Even Dozun-level experts dared not be careless. The ruins were hidden within a spatial seal, causing spatial fluctuations that occasionally created rifts. During this period, many strong experts attempted to invade, but most met with failure. Xiao Yan furrowed his brows. Although these ancient ruins had endured through the ages, they were still formidable. However, no Dozun-level experts had entered this space before. The seal itself had restrictive properties. If a Dozun-level expert tried to force their way in, it would trigger a powerful counterattack. When Xiao Yan heard that Dozun experts couldn't enter, his brows furrowed immediately. Doesn't this mean he can't enter either? Hee, young master, there's no need to worry. The seal here will gradually dissipate in a few days, allowing Dozun experts to enter without obstruction, Elder Hu said with a smile. Hearing this, Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief, but a thought suddenly crossed his mind. He asked, "Have you detected any activity from the Hall of Souls?" Elder Hu frowned after hearing Xiao Yan's question and, after a moment of contemplation, said, "We haven't seen any sign of them, but those people are always elusive. Even if they were here, it would be difficult for us to detect them." Xiao Yan nodded slightly, a cold gleam flashing in his eyes. Mu Qingwan, standing nearby, spoke in a low voice. "In this Skeleton Mountain range, we need to be wary of more than just the Hall of Souls. The 9 Nether-Earth Underworld clan, as the true rulers of this place, are the real challenge. They not only have large numbers, but are also filled with powerful individuals. Even the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan hesitates to provoke them lightly." Xiao Yan said, "I do find it puzzling. This area is the territory of the 9 Nether-Earth Python clan. Given their nature, it's surprising they haven't sealed off the mountain range and instead allowed this news to leak." Elder Hu responded with a shake of his head and a smile. The 9 Nether-Earth Python clan is currently in turmoil. They don't have the capacity to focus on these ancient ruins. According to the information I've gathered, several strong members of the Nine Nether-Earth Underworld clan have mysteriously disappeared recently, including a Do Zun-level expert. They are now frantically searching for the culprit. The most astonishing part is that it seems to be the work of a single individual. Upon hearing this, Mu Qingluan's face changed slightly, thinking about who would be bold enough to target the Nine Nether-Earth Underworld clan. This matter doesn't concern us. For the next few days, we must stay put at the mountaintop, closely monitoring the ancient ruins. Also, instruct everyone not to wander around. The situation in the Skeleton Mountain range is chaotic right now. Any mishap would be inviting trouble, Xiao said sternly. Now we just wait for the ancient ruins to open. As time passed, the distorted space at the center of the mountain range gradually became clearer. Judging by the rate at which it was dissipating, the seal would completely vanish in at most 2 more days, and the ancient ruins that had existed for countless years would reappear before the world. The night was cool and serene, with the cold moonlight pouring down from the sky. Xiao sat cross-legged on a large rock at the edge of the mountaintop. From this vantage point, he could overlook half the mountain range, where he could faintly see figures and flickering fires at the foot of the mountain. Suddenly, a faint sound of something cutting through the air broke the silence of the night. Xiao turned his head sharply, only to see a dark shadow swooping down like a hawk from the night sky. With a clap of its hands, a tent was torn apart on impact. The previously sleeping Ziyin reacted swiftly. As the tent tore apart, she opened her eyes and saw the dark figure lunging at her. Startled, she quickly retreated barefoot, exclaiming, "Who dares sneak attack?" Xiao was equally shocked, and anger surged within him. He sprang forward like an arrow released from a bow, charging toward the dark figure. As Xiao got closer, he noticed that the figure was somewhat slender and wore a mask, giving an especially eerie impression. The dark figure seemed oblivious to Xiao shout. Hidden behind the ghostly mask, her eyes suddenly emitted a bizarre green light that briefly flashed but accurately targeted Ziyan's face. Ziyan felt a blur in front of her eyes, and her consciousness began to fade. As her mind grew hazy, purple energy surged on Ziyan's cheeks, and a half-foot-long purple dragon shadow rose into the air, letting out a thunderous dragon roar. "Why isn't it a snake?" Seeing the purple dragon on Ziyan's cheeks, the dark figure hesitated momentarily. In that instant, 3 nearby tents exploded. Little Fairy Doctor, the Do Zun of Fire, and Qiong Zhan emerged, their faces turning grave as they saw the dark figure attacking Ziyin. "Protect Ziyin," Xiao commanded sternly, flashing in front of the dark figure. A massive hand formed from purple-brown flames smashed down toward the figure's head. The dark figure hastily dodged, and the green light under the ghost mask flashed again, effortlessly catching the flaming giant hand. With a flicker, she swiftly fled towards the mountainside. Xiao frowned. This person was acting mysteriously and clearly targeting Ziyin. If not captured and interrogated, this would pose a future threat. Silver light flashed under his feet, and in an instant, he appeared above the dark figure, his flame-wreathed fist hammering down again. Sensing the fierce wind from above, the green light under the ghostly mask flashed once more. A burly figure mysteriously appeared behind the dark figure and immediately punched out, colliding with Xiao fiery fist. Xiao body trembled slightly, forcing him to take a few steps back, while the dark figure vanished without a trace. Suddenly, the sound of wind breaking filled the air, followed by several figures swiftly passing through. As they paused momentarily, their sharp gazes swept over Xiao. One fierce-looking man sniffed the air and turned his gaze towards Xiao, asking coldly, "There's the scent of the culprit here. Should we take this person back for questioning?" Xiao eyes narrowed as he looked at the 4 newcomers, noticing their unique vertical pupils. He murmured, "People from the Nine Nether-Earth Underworld Python clan." The gray-robed elder leading the group glanced at Xiao. Sensing that Xiao was also a Do Zun, he decided not to provoke an unnecessary conflict. His gaze shifted towards the direction where the dark figure had disappeared. "The scent is heading into the depths of the forest. Chase." With that, The gray-robed elder transformed into a shadow, swiftly pursuing into the forest. Xiao thought to himself, if his strength had been slightly weaker today, this group might have taken him away for interrogation. It seemed that the mysterious assailant from earlier was likely the same person who had been causing the 9 Nether-Earth underworld Python clan so much trouble recently. However, he wondered why she would target Ziyin. Harboring these doubts, Xiao returned to the mountain peak and briefly described the earlier attack, mentioning that the attacker was the much-discussed mysterious culprit. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. Little fairy doctor furrowed her brows slightly and said in a low voice, "That person has only been targeting the 9 Nether-Earth underworld Python clan. Why would she suddenly attack Ziyin?" Xiao shook his head and looked at Ziyin, smiling. Maybe they mistook this little girl for a member of the 9 Nether-Earth underworld Python clan. Bah, who would be mistaken for those stinking big snakes? Ziyin pouted, but then a serious expression crossed her face. I almost got controlled just now. Even if I hadn't been completely controlled, I would have lost my ability to resist for a short time. The Dozun of Fire frowned and said, "This person has the ability to control minds. When did such a strong individual appear in the Central Plains? How come we have never heard of them before?" Meanwhile, Xiong cursed, "Damn it! Next time I see her, I'll crush her head. If anything happens to Ziyin, I'll be in deep trouble." Xiao looked around at everyone, speaking seriously. "In the next few days, we need to be extra careful. The day after tomorrow is when the ancient ruins will open. We must be the first to enter." After that tumultuous night, nothing else happened. Everyone was waiting for the ancient ruins to open. 2 days later, as the first rays of dawn illuminated the sky, the previously quiet mountain range suddenly came alive with incredible vigor. The air was filled with the sound of wind breaking as countless figures swarmed towards the center of the mountain range like locusts. At the mountain peak, Xiao and his companions were fully prepared. Due to the high risk of entering the ancient ruins, only Xiao and a few others would go in, while the other disciples of the Falling Star Pavilion and the 2 elders would stay behind to provide support. "Let's set off." Xiao waved his hand and headed straight for the core of the mountain range, with Little Fairy Doctor and the others following closely behind. A few minutes later, Xiao landed steadily on a towering tree, scanning the surroundings as he looked at the distorted space not far ahead. He realized that this was a vast basin, filled with countless skeletons. Around this sea of bones, many figures were standing. Suddenly, a subtle ripple emanated from the center of the distorted space, producing a sound like flowing water. As this sound spread, the ripple became more intense. After a series of strange noises, the distorted space suddenly solidified, followed by a crisp, shattering sound, as if the space was fragile glass breaking. "It's open. The ancient ruins have opened." As the space seal shattered instantly, the eyes of the countless figures around the sea of bones turned red with greed, their throats emitting low, ravenous growls as they swarmed towards the center of the sea of bones like locusts. Faced with these rapidly charging figures, Xiao quickly grabbed Ziyin beside him and swiftly retreated the moment the space fractured. Little Fairy Doctor and the others also retreated without hesitation. As they retreated, the fragments of the space seal suddenly halted. Then, with a thunderous explosion, a storm of violent spatial power, enough to make even a Dozun shudder, swept out. Those who rushed forward first were engulfed by the storm in the blink of an eye, their agonizing screams echoing across the skeleton mountain range. Since they were some distance from the explosion center, the spatial storm's power had diminished by the time it reached Xiao and his group, leaving them unharmed. They breathed a sigh of relief, scanning the area to see countless figures writhing in agony on the ground, blood staining the vast sea of bones. This space seal is truly terrifying. After countless years, it still holds such formidable power. It's indeed worthy of being a Doshang's relic, Little Fairy Doctor and the others exclaimed in surprise at the destruction caused by the spatial disturbance. "Let's go. These guys were too impatient and have only themselves to blame," Xiao said with a smile, his figure turning into a beam of light as he shot towards the depths of the Bone Sea. As they continued forward, The white mist that originally pervaded the bone sea gradually dissipated, and the massive outline ahead slowly became clearer. It was a colossal crimson palace, almost like a small mountain. Compared to it, the branch halls of the Soul Hall that Xiao Yin had seen before seemed insignificant. Figures appeared one after another, stopping about 100 meters away from the Crimson Palace. It was no wonder that a spatial seal was needed to conceal it. Such a grand palace would be eye-catching no matter where it was placed. Gazing at the palace, Xiao Yin couldn't help but shake his head, leading the group to slowly descend 100 meters away. Strong individuals continuously arrived at the Crimson Palace, but no one dared to enter the 100-meter range. Those who could reach this place were either from major powers or were powerful figures themselves. Naturally, no one wanted to be the first to step forward. These people were not impatient, and neither was Xiao Yin. Such a rich treasure trove, if unguarded, would be believed by no one but a fool. As Xiao Yin waited patiently, he suddenly sensed a cold gaze directed at him. Frowning slightly, he quickly turned to lock onto the source of the gaze. Staring at a familiar face, he was surprised to see her here. Feng Qinger stood surrounded by her followers, with members of the Wind Lightning Pavilion among them. Noticing Xiao Yan's group, their eyes flickered with a cold light. Xiao Yan's gaze swept across the crowd, finally settling on a white-haired man beside Feng Qinger. The man wore a faint smile, exuding an extraordinary air of nobility. Glancing casually at Xiao Yin, he asked, "Is that the person you mentioned, who might possess the demon phoenix blood essence?" Feng Qinger bit her silver teeth lightly, her tone tinged with defiance. "I didn't expect that in just a few years, he would have already reached the Dozun realm." The white-haired man chuckled softly and whispered, "A Dozun? After this, you will also be eligible to receive our clan's inheritance. When that happens, advancing to Dozun won't be impossible. As for Xiao Yin, leave him to me. Whether or not he has the demon phoenix blood essence, we'll find out once we bring him back. Even if he's already absorbed the essence, we have ways to extract it from his blood." Feng Qinger nodded gently. Despite Xiao Yin having reached the Dozun level, she had full confidence in her companion beside her. He had received his inheritance earlier and had mastered the inherited powers with great proficiency. Among the younger generation of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, he was one of the top-ranked. Dealing with Xiao Yin shouldn't be too difficult. Xiao Yin shifted his gaze away from Feng Qinger and her group, looking around as his expression became more intriguing. Among the various forces present, he unexpectedly recognized many familiar faces. Wind Lightning Pavilion, Heavenly Demon Phoenix Clan, Ice River Valley, and Mysterious Abyss Sect. His gaze swept over these hostile forces one by one, and he couldn't help but sigh. "I've really walked into a den of wolves this time." Xiao Yin smiled bitterly to himself, surprised that all his old enemies had shown up this time. As Xiao Yan's gaze fell upon them, they noticed him too, turning their eyes towards him, each with a different expression. The Valley Master of Ice River Valley, the Dozun of Ice, stared coldly at Xiao Yin. "I didn't expect to see this kid here." Back then, he had to retreat due to the Gu clan, or he would have captured Xiao Yin and his group long ago. Now, with various forces gathered here, if an opportunity arose within the relic, he might be able to act. As long as it was done discreetly, even the Gu clan would have a hard time tracking it. A hint of murderous intent appeared on the Dozun of Ice's face. The sect master of Mysterious Abyss Sect, Chen Tianan, also had a glint of malice in his eyes. "Without the protection of the Pill Tower, I wonder how you'll survive this time." Although these opponents disguised their intentions well, the faint killing intent did not escape Xiao Yan's keen senses. He frowned slightly, not expecting to have attracted so many enemies unintentionally. Xiao Yin exchanged a helpless glance with little fairy doctor beside him. He never intended to make so many enemies, but various circumstances had pushed him into conflict with these major forces, which was indeed frustrating. "Hey, Xiao Yin, you're really here?" Just as Xiao Yin felt resigned, a surprised and delicate voice suddenly came from nearby. Xiao Yin paused, looked up, and saw Tang Horror from the flame-burning valley. Beside her stood an elderly man in a red robe, his face full of smiles. None other than Tang Zhun, the valley master of flame-burning valley. He said, "Heh, Xiao Yin, my young friend, long time no see. How have you been? In just 2 short years, you not only won the Alchemist Grand Meeting but also ascended to the Dozun level. Such rapid progress. Even I feel humbled." Xiao Yin didn't respond directly to Tang Zhun's admiration. He simply smiled and changed the subject, saying, "Master Tang, are you also here for the ancient ruins?" Tang Zhun chuckled and said, "Yes, indeed. Ancient ruins are rare, and relics left by Do Saint-level experts are even rarer. Now that they've appeared, it's only natural to come and broaden our horizons. If there's anything you need inside the ruins, just speak up. Back then, you refined the flame Bodhi pill for me, and I still owe you a favor." Xiao Yin smiled faintly and nodded. "If it comes to that, I'll certainly not hesitate to ask for your help." Suddenly, someone shouted, "The gates are opening." Immediately, figures swiftly darted towards the entrance. The Dozun of Fire scanned ahead and remarked, "Hey, isn't that the group from Ice River Valley up ahead?" Xiao Yin and his group also dashed forward for a distance. Along the way, they occasionally glimpsed lone travelers with grim expressions. However, what puzzled them was the complete disappearance of the Ice River Valley group. They had vanished without a trace. Sure, here's the translation with a focus on maintaining authenticity and narrative flow in English, while preserving names, places, and special items. If this passage doesn't lead to the entrance, where does the real path lie? Little fairy doctor furrowed her brow, glancing at the crimson walls on either side. Xiao Yin, his face thoughtful, shifted his gaze downward after a moment, settling on the searing crimson magma beneath their feet. It's possible the Ice River Valley disappeared because Ice River Valley's master found the true passage. But this passage is surrounded by rocks, above and on both sides, he said slowly. You mean the passage isn't ahead but below us? Little fairy doctor asked, surprised. The owner of this ruin is truly cunning. Who would think to jump into magma to find a way? The Dozun of Fire couldn't help but show surprise. No wonder the people from Ice River Valley were so eager to shake us off. They didn't want us to find the real entrance. Xiao Yin chuckled softly, reminding everyone, then waved his sleeve. Purple-brown flames enveloped them, and they plunged directly into the scalding crimson magma. After submerging into the magma, Xiao Yin and his companions quickly dove down. In about a minute, they stood steadily on the cold ground. Once they had their footing, they quickly looked up, their faces filled with astonishment. Dozens of yards above their heads, the crimson magma twisted and hung like a giant dragon, occasionally showing figures passing on the fire pathways they had traversed earlier. Xiao Yin scanned the surroundings. They were in a wide stone passage, with figures moving ahead on what seemed like a plaza in the distance. Let's go. This should be the actual entrance to the ruins. The corridor wasn't particularly long, and in just a few minutes at their pace, Xiao Yin and his group reached the plaza. They found others had already arrived, mostly those who had rushed ahead earlier, including the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan and the Ice River Valley faction. Xiao Yin and his unexpected appearance immediately drew the attention of everyone in the plaza. Ice River Valley's master furrowed his brow slightly, clearly surprised that Xiao Yin and his group had discovered the secrets of the passage so quickly. Unconcerned with the scrutiny of the onlookers, Xiao Yan's gaze locked onto a massive stone door at the far end of the plaza as soon as he arrived. Before the stone door stood 10 figures as straight as spears, their skin shimmering with dazzling silver light. Gazing at these seemingly extraordinary beings, Xiao Yin murmured in awe. The puppets outside the stone door emit a brilliant silver glow, clearly still at the level of earthly demon puppets. Based on Xiao Yan's assessment, these 10 earth demon puppets are roughly at the peak level of Dozong strength. It appears that the true ruins lie beyond this stone door. Little fairy doctor, studying the heavy stone door, spoke softly, but the door is tightly shut, and there seems to be spatial fluctuations above it. Clearly, brute force won't open it. In that case, The method to open it likely involves these tin puppets. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. As he surveyed the scene, he noticed that most people were observing the puppets, indicating that everyone had the same idea. Suddenly, an elderly man in gray robes slowly stepped forward from the crowd. Judging by his powerful aura, he was clearly a powerhouse at the Dozun level. However, like Xiao Yan and the others, it was immediately apparent that this elder was merely a one-star Dozun. When the elder approached within 10 yards of the stone door, the 10 motionless figures suddenly emitted a low, skeletal friction sound. Then, their 10 cold, empty eyes abruptly turned toward the elder in gray robes. Gripping their palms, the 10 dazzling silver spears materialized in their hands, and like lightning, the 10 figures swiftly launched an attack toward the elder in gray robes. Seeing this situation, the elderly man in gray robes burst into laughter and charged into the group of puppets barehanded, each punch forcing the puppets to retreat. Watching this 1-against-10 battle where he held his ground effortlessly, Xiao Yan couldn't help but shake his head. The gap between Dozong and Dozun is indeed vast. The 10 earthly demon puppets, who had been steadily retreating, suddenly halted their steps. Silver light flashed in their eyes as they swiftly formed a peculiar formation. Amidst the shimmering silver light, serpent-like energy surged from within them, connecting tightly to form a circular loop. The moment the loop took shape, the lead earth demon puppet roared, and golden light emerged, completely replacing the silver glow. They had evolved. Witnessing this, Xiao Yan's pupils involuntarily contracted. He knew well the difficulty for earthly demon puppets to evolve into heavenly demon puppets, requiring countless thunder pills to absorb before the critical moment of evolution. Yet these earthly demon puppets had achieved this feat in an instant, thanks to the efficacy of the formation left behind by a Dosheng powerhouse. With these 10 earthly demon puppets, enhanced by the strange formation, now capable of matching a 2-star Dozun, the elderly man was in trouble. Though fleeting, the shock in Xiao Yan's heart was evident. The golden heavenly demon puppet stamped forcefully on the ground, its figure instantly appearing before the now pale-faced elder. With a flicker of golden light, its fist struck fiercely. A deep, resounding impact echoed. The elder staggered back hastily. Yet, even as he retreated 10 yards, the heavenly demon puppet retracted its fist and stood firm. In a flash, it had moved outside the stone door, its golden radiance dissipating as it transformed back into an earthly demon puppet guarding the door. The sudden turn of events unsettled many, their expressions shifting subtly. While the 10 pinnacle Dozong earthly demon puppets could be managed, the 2-star Dozun level of the heavenly demon puppet instilled fear. Some strong enough might subdue it, but victory would come at a great cost, dissuading anyone from risking such expenditure before exploring the ruins. The atmosphere in the plaza grew awkward as everyone desired to enter the ruins yet hesitated to confront the puppets head-on. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes, focused on the 10 puppets, a hint of greed flashing within. "Keep an eye on the others for me." After whispering instructions to Little Fairy Doctor and the others, Xiao Yan lightly tapped the ground with his toe, landing steadily 10 meters outside the stone gate. His sudden move startled everyone. Feng Qinger murmured, "This kid showing up on his own must have some scheme in mind." Beside her, the white-haired man glanced at Xiao Yan, a hint of amusement in his smile as he stepped forward slowly, saying, "With your strength as a 1-star Dozun, you're no match even for the old man who battled the puppets earlier. I suggest you reconsider. Personally, I find these puppets quite intriguing. Bringing one home as a guard would be quite impressive." Facing this unexpected interjection, Xiao Yan furrowed his brow slightly. Then, with a firm stomp of his foot, he dashed towards the stone gate. The white-haired man followed closely, conjuring a fierce gust of wind with a wave of his sleeve aimed at Xiao Yan's back. Sensing the wind at his back, Xiao Yan smoothly evaded by spinning on his heel. With a thought, his vast soul force surged from his brow like a tidal wave, splitting into thousands of threads that swooped towards the puppets. "This kid actually intends to control the puppets," remarked the white-haired man. As Xiao Yan's soul force spread out, the white-haired man sensed it too, but he knew he couldn't contend with Xiao Yan's puppet-controlling technique. He swiftly maneuvered to appear before one earth demon puppet, delivering a powerful punch that cracked its form wide open. Since he couldn't possess it, he decided to destroy it instead. Just as the earth demon puppet's body began to fissure under his blow, the white-haired man's smirk froze as he saw silver light surge within the puppet once more. His fist poised to strike. A sudden sweep of golden light slashed through the air with a sharp sonic boom, forcing him to pale and hastily retreat. As the white-haired man retreated, his gaze swept around, unexpectedly landing on the source of the golden light, a dark golden puppet. So, this kid also possessed such a puppet. No wonder he dared to act. The realization dawned on the white-haired man as he lifted his head and caught Xiao Yan slowly opening his eyes. Xiao Yan glanced at him coldly, then waved his hand lightly. 10 puppets emitted a soft sound as they were drawn into the storage ring. Xiao Yan's process of subduing the earth demon puppets went surprisingly smoothly, as he detected no soul imprints within these puppets. After storing them away in his ring, a peculiar expression crossed Xiao Yan's face. He glanced at the gray-robed elder who had been beaten back and was coughing up blood earlier, inwardly musing that if this old man knew how easy it was to pass through here, he might spit blood again out of sheer frustration. He actually managed to subdue those puppets. The crowd in the square stared at him with incredulous eyes. In just 2 or 3 minutes, Xiao Yan effortlessly gained control of 10 puppets that were formidable enough to rival a 2-star Dozun. Envy and jealousy were evident in everyone's eyes, especially among those like the Dozuns of Thunder and Ice River, who harbored grudges against Xiao Yan. They were both envious and unwilling to accept this reality. The stronger Xiao Yan's power became, the greater the threat he posed to them. Facing these gazes, Xiao Yan merely glanced over before withdrawing his gaze. No matter how dissatisfied they were, none dared to act here. Their target was the heaven-rank combating techniques within the ruins. Before obtaining them, they wouldn't easily confront Xiao Yan and his group. Shortly after storing the puppets in his ring, a creaking sound echoed as the sealed stone door slowly began to crack open, emitting a desolate and ancient aura that caused many to adopt solemn expressions. For them, relics from ancient times were undoubtedly sacred entities. Seeing the door open, Xiao Yan subtly shifted back to his original position. The crowd watching couldn't help but twitch their lips, silently cursing this cunning fellow. Clearly, Xiao Yan had no intention of stepping into the mysterious ruins first. As the gate gradually swung fully open, the creaking faded away. People in the square glanced at each other, yet none dared to step forward first. Xiao Yan paid no heed to the silence that fell over the square, his fingers lightly caressing the ring, a radiant smile playing on his lips. Who would have thought such treasures would be obtained as soon as we entered the ruins? What a tremendous opportunity. Strong individuals hurried to the square, obviously sensing the mystical aura of the fire path. As more and more gathered, the initial arrivals grew restless, their factions becoming increasingly impatient. Before long, someone couldn't resist and cautiously entered the stone door. Fortunately, no screams followed this time. Seeing the leader emerge unscathed, the tension in everyone eased. "Let's go," Xiao Yan chuckled softly, his figure instantly becoming a streak of black lightning as he headed straight for the ruins behind the stone door. That cunning fellow, many cursed under their breaths upon seeing Xiao Yan confirm the safety and immediately take action. Shortly after, they too sped up, flooding into the grand hall like a burst dam. Xiao Yan and his companions passed through the stone gate in the blink of an eye, then slowed their pace, marveling at the scene before them. What lay before them was an immensely vast hall, where people seemed minuscule in comparison. Their gazes swept around, taking note of numerous deep corridors stretching into the unknown. Soon enough, various factions and formidable individuals began to split off and rush towards those passages, Xiao Yan remarked with a furrowed brow. "Ziyin, do you sense it?" Ziyin wrinkled her nose in response. "I can detect a faint herbal scent." Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan urged, "Follow me." After determining the direction, he swiftly darted down a corridor to the left of the main hall. The passageways within the hall were extraordinarily spacious, occasionally adorned with balconies on either side. While tracking the scent of the medicinal forest, Xiao Yan's group would intermittently enter these balconies, but found nothing of value. It appeared that true treasures wouldn't be so easily found in these straightforward locations. After flying for about 15 minutes, Ziyin ahead gradually slowed her pace. There stood a very ancient stone door covered in moss. Pointing to the door, Ziyin said, "The herbal aroma is strongest here. This should be the storage place for medicinal herbs. However, after so many years, I wonder if the herb forest remains intact. It should be fine. Early saint-level experts have ways to preserve herbs for extended periods," Xiaoyan reassured, shaking his head. He carefully examined the area for traps or mechanisms before pushing hard against the stone door. With a deep rumble, the heavy stone door gradually swung open, releasing a long-sealed, potent herbal fragrance that instantly invigorated everyone present. Catching a whiff of the overwhelming aroma, Xiao Yan's eyes brightened with delight, and he pushed the stone door open with renewed strength. Compared to these herbs, the myriad medicine mountain range is like child's play, Shtong Zhan remarked, his face filled with astonishment as he gazed upon the rare herbs that were extremely scarce outside. Beyond the stone door was not the anticipated stone chamber, but an ancient forest composed of various exotic herbs. Xiao Yin, too, was deeply impressed by the sight of this forest. It took him a moment to recover his senses before swiftly leading everyone inside, then carefully closing the stone door behind them. "Wow, this place is a treasure trove," Ziyin exclaimed, her eyes twinkling as she wiped the drool from her mouth, unable to resist grabbing a handful of spirit-rich Lingji mushrooms and stuffing them into her mouth. Seeing Ziyan's actions, Xiao Yin and the others couldn't help but laugh and shake their heads. Suppressing the urge to collect all the herbs in the forest into their storage rings, Xiao Yin gestured for them to proceed deeper into the forest. "We don't have much time to sort through these medicinal herbs now. Let's go find the soul infant fruit first." Little Fairy Doctor and the others nodded in agreement, pulling Ziyin away from the pile of herbs where she had been reluctant to move. Guided by Ziyin, Xiao Yan's group encountered many fierce auras along the way. Several times, they came across massive demonic beasts charging through, but these beasts seemed to sense the draconic aura of the primordial ancient dragon on Ziyin and refrained from actively disturbing them. Suddenly, Xiao Yin halted in his tracks, turning north with a furrowed brow. Seeing this, Little Fairy Doctor hastily inquired, "What's wrong?" Xiao Yin replied, "Others have entered the forest as well, and there are quite a few of them. It seems they've also discovered the stone door. Their approach is from different directions. It appears there's more than one entrance to this ancient forest," Little Fairy Doctor observed. Xiao Yin shook his head helplessly, then continued, "We need to pick up the pace." A look of surprise suddenly spread across Ziyan's face. "I can sense it." Xiao Yan's heart tightened as he asked urgently, "Is it the soul infant fruit?" About 10 minutes later, Ziyin fixed her gaze ahead intently. "Yes, it is. I'm more familiar with the aura of such rare treasures than you are." Before them lay a lake approximately 30 feet wide, with a floating landmass at its center resembling a small island. On this island grew a peculiar-looking small tree. Its branches twisted like vines, forming curious arcs that resembled a large belly when viewed from afar. Faint golden light shimmered through the layers of intertwining branches, visible within the belly-like shape. "It really is the soul infant demon tree," Xiao Yin exclaimed excitedly at the sight of the peculiar plant. "Now that we've found it, what are we waiting for? Let's move." Xiong Zhan grinned and interjected, "Hold on. Any spiritual creature in this world will have guardian beasts. This soul infant fruit is a precious item for soul refinement and greatly benefits demonic beasts. It's unlikely there's no protector." Ziyin shook her head, her gaze fixed on the lake's surface. With a swift motion, she threw a punch into the air, sending a powerful gust of wind crashing into the lake, creating a massive crater. Suddenly, the calm lake erupted into tumultuous waves, and a gigantic figure swiftly emerged from the water, a skysoar serpent. "This creature has been extinct in the outside world," Ziyin marveled quietly. "Leave this to me." The skysoar serpent was approximately at the peak of the 7th rank, bolstered by its bloodline power, capable of challenging even a Dozun. While Xiao Yan's group could subdue it, avoiding a confrontation would be preferable. If a battle ensued and endangered the soul infant fruit, regret would be inevitable. Gracefully, Ziyin leaped from the branch to the lake's surface, a violet glow forming into a majestic purple dragon over her head. The fierce glare in the skysoar serpent's eyes softened as it slowly retreated back into the lake. Its massive head approached Ziyin gently, resembling a submissive pet. Relieved, Xiao Yan and the others sighed. Ziyin stroked the skysoar serpent's head before pointing towards the soul infant demon tree at the center of the lake. Emotions of reluctance flickered in the serpent's eyes. It had guarded the soul infant fruit for many years and was unwilling to let go easily. However, Ziyan's commanding bloodline aura left it little choice but to yield. We should compensate it somehow. It looks really pitiful, murmured Ziyin, feeling compassion at the sight of the sky-swallowing Xiao. She turned to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan landed beside Ziyin and respectfully gestured to the sky-swallowing Xiao. I apologize sincerely for unintentionally taking your treasure. However, the soul infant fruit is crucial for us. While it greatly benefits souls, its effects on magic beasts, primarily focused on physical cultivation, are limited. I have 2 pills here that can refine a beast's physique, which would be greatly beneficial to you. Furthermore, as you possess the bloodline of the primordial ancient dragon, transforming is no small feat. I also have a mature transforming grass. Upon hearing the words, transforming grass, the sky-swallowing Xiao eagerly nodded. Xiao Yan breathed a sigh of relief at the sight, swiftly producing the pills and a jade box. The sky-swallowing Xiao greedily swallowed them all in one gulp. Satisfied with this compensation, it finally seemed content and promptly submerged into the depths of the lake. Having successfully appeased the colossal beast, Xiao Yan's figure flashed onto a small island at the heart of the lake. There, amid the branches, he noticed faint bulges hanging from the trees, 2 fist-sized, golden fruits. The delicate fragrance emanating from them caused Xiao Yan's soul to tremble involuntarily. Let's quickly retrieve these items and leave. The forest is echoing with increasingly frequent roars of beasts. It seems many intruders have entered, urged Little Fairy Doctor and the others as they arrived at the island in the lake. Xiao Yan nodded, swiftly chopping off a thick branch from the soul infant demon tree. Hurriedly carving it into 2 crude wooden boxes, he carefully placed the soul infant fruits inside. With a turn of his palm, he stored them away in the storage ring. We've finally obtained the soul infant fruits. Let's go, Xiao Yan said, preparing to depart. However, he noticed Ziyin gazing blankly deeper into the forest. Her eyes seemed somewhat distant. Something over there is calling to me. Upon hearing Ziyin's words, Xiao Yan's face took on a thoughtful expression. After a moment of contemplation, he finally made a serious decision and said, let's go take a look. Since we've arrived at this treasure mountain, we should see with our own eyes what true treasures lie here. Without the intimidation of the dragon's presence, it won't be easy for others to venture deep into the forest. We still have plenty of time. Seeing Xiao Yan nod in agreement, Ziyin, who had been lost in thought, smiled faintly. She lightly tapped the ground and floated towards the depths of the forest ahead of them. After about 10 minutes of crossing the lake, their pace slowed as they navigated through the trees. Suddenly, Little Fairy Doctor remarked as they entered a certain area, the surrounding aura has completely vanished. Xiao Yan's expression changed slightly. Indeed, the previously fierce and overwhelming aura is now completely gone. What could this mean? The Dozun of fire furrowed his brow, a look of vigilance crossing his face. Don't worry, we've already reached the center of this ancient forest, Ziyin explained softly, her gaze fixed on a flat area not far ahead. The grass there was lush and ordinary looking, which puzzled Xiao Yan and the others. Could this be the place calling Ziyin? Then, with a solemn expression, she extended her small hand. Just as her fingers were about to touch the air half a foot in front of her, a golden light suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The golden light formed an inverted bowl shape, covering an area of about a dozen yards. Such a beast spirit shield could only be condensed by a powerful magic beast in the final moments of its life. Ziyin gently touched the light shield. a hint of sadness crossing her face. Xiao Yin remained silent. Since this thing had summoned Ziyin, its owner of the beast spirit shield was likely related to the primordial ancient dragon clan. Ziyan's expression suddenly changed. This beast spirit shield not only carries the aura of the primordial ancient dragon, but also seems to be mixed with traces of the heavenly demon phoenix clan. Moreover, this aura is even purer than that of the current heavenly demon phoenix clan. At these words, Xiao Yin and the others exchanged glances, puzzled. Could the lingering souls here be from the ancient heavenly demon phoenix clan? Why not just open it and find out? Xiong Zhan, who was nearby, scratched his head and suggested. Ziyin nodded lightly. She pricked her fingertip, and golden blood dripped out. Gently, she touched it to the beast spirit shield, drawing a golden blood trace. Only those of the same bloodline could open such a beast spirit shield. As the golden blood trace was drawn, the golden light shield rippled, and a crack of golden light slowly tore open. Let's go in. As Xiao Yin and the others stepped into the beast spirit shield, the scenery before their eyes changed abruptly. The lush forest vanished in an instant, replaced by a desolate plain. This vast expanse was covered in crimson-red sand. Far in the distance, they could see a towering ancient stone altar at the center of the plain, emitting a faint yet imposing aura that hindered the flow of their dou qi at this moment. The moment Ziyin set foot here, she immediately locked her gaze on the altar without hesitation. Her figure floated effortlessly towards it, seemingly unaffected by the surrounding pressure. As she approached this colossal structure, a strong ancient aura engulfed them all. They were standing at the center of the altar, and looking up from where they stood, they could see a flight of blue stone steps extending to the end of their sight. Ziyan's gaze was fixed on the endpoint of the stairs, the inner calling growing stronger by the moment. Taking a deep breath, her expression turned notably serious. With a sudden push of her feet against the ground, she shot up the stone steps like lightning, reaching the end of the altar in just a few moments. Xiao Yin and the others followed closely behind, arriving to find Ziyin looking shocked. Following her gaze, they saw at the center of the altar a golden-purple stone platform, within which a sapling hung a fruit at its top. The fruit was roughly the size of a palm, intertwined in golden-purple hues. One side was golden, resembling a greatly reduced primordial ancient dragon, while the other side was purple, resembling a dancing and winged ancient phoenix. This is the dragon phoenix origin fruit. The phoenix form isn't that of a heavenly demon phoenix but of its ancestor, the ancient celestial phoenix. This fruit requires the life force of both the primordial ancient dragon and the celestial phoenix to nurture, but it only has less than 1/10 of a chance of maturing. According to the records of the ancient dragon clan, the dragon phoenix origin fruit has only appeared 5 times before, and this is the 6th.